Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I have a fun taco card to share with you today. Hey everybody, so I am using Jaded Blossom's Cinco de Gnomo stamp set and the Cinco de Gnomo outline dies, along with the Build a Booth Taco Add Ons, our mason jar dies, our chili pepper stencil, and our Sunny Studios classic gingham dots and stripes and polka dot parade. So there they are. Oops. Not necessarily in that order, but that's what it is. Okay, so first I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp a sentiment onto paper tray ink white cardstock with VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink and my Misty. I'm going to stamp the sentiment, I'm wishing you a spicy birthday from the Cinco de Gnomo stamp set. There we go. Sorry about that beeping. That's the dishwasher in the background. I'm not sure if you can hear it. And there you go. And I've got a piece of pure poppy cardstock 4.25 by 11 scored at 5.5 inches. With my Martha Stewart scoreboard and my Teflon bone folder. There we go. And so I've got a vertical A2 size card. Then I went ahead and I cut out the stencil that I ink blended on the April 2023 release and review. I used Distress Oxide ink onto paper tray ink white cardstock. I used Rustic Wilderness, Barn Door, and Lumberjack plaid for that. There we go. And then I'm going to pop that down. I cut it down with my paper trimmer to 4.2 or to 4 by 5.25 inches. Sorry guys, just so there's a nice border around the edge. There we are. Then I went ahead and I cut out our mason jars with Whirlwind translucent vellum, and I cut it out twice. And I'm just using ATG tape on the top of it to stick them together. Then I'm going to use ATG tape to stick down Doodlebug's rainbow heat prints in gingham linen. I cut that little fabric piece out with, and I'm just sticking it down with ATG tape, and I'm going to do the same with this American Crafts silver foil cardstock. There we go. And then there I have a nice kind of translucent, kind of opaque, I guess, mason jar. Now I'm going to cut out my sentiment with the outline dies that go with that Cinco de Gnomo stamp set. And I will do that with my little Gemini Go machine. There we go. And now I'm going to add a piece of white paper. This is Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, cut at 4 by 5.25 inches, and I'll add that to the inside. And then I'm going to add a strip of that same blended background that I ink blended with that chili pepper stencil. And that's about 1.5 inches wide. And then the red is that pure poppy cardstock from paper tray ink that's roughly like 1 3/4 inches wide. And I'm going to stick those down with ATG tape, and I'll run that along the inside bottom of the inside of the card there. And I will trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. Just some easy peasy, you know, decorating to the inside of the card, right? And there you have that. And I think that stencil's adorable. So now I'm going to stick down that little mason jar with some ATG tape just on the top, because remember, you can see adhesive through vellum. So I like to hide it. So there you go. So now I'm going to make some chili peppers. So these are from the Build a Booth Taco Add Ons. And instead of cutting out singular peppers and using the stems, I'm just using the banner, and I'm going to trim off the string in between. And that way I can cut out a bunch at once. They still have the stitching on them, so they still look nice. And that way it will save me, you know, the whole thing of cutting out, you know, the chili pepper and the stems a million times. So that's what I'm just doing. So just quickly trimming off each of those strings. There we go. And now I'm going to trim off the little stems because I want the stems to come from the green ones that I cut out. So I'm just quickly trimming them off. Now you could have easily used the singular pepper and cut them out a million times with the stem. You know, do whatever makes you happy. But I was trying to save a little time doing it this way. And like I said, you can't tell at all, which is kind of nice, right? There we go. And then I'm going to stick down each of these peppers. Well, I'll add the little red peppers to the stems with some art glitter glue using my reverse tweezers. And, you know, just easy stuff. I'm trying to make life easy when I create cards. I don't want to, you know, spend too much time on each card. And there you go. And I'll just keep adding the glue to each one. And then I'll have a bunch of red peppers. And then for the green ones, you'll see what I do in a minute here. And there you go. I've got a bunch of little chili peppers. So now on the green ones, I'm just going to use a green Copic marker. That is YG17. And I'm just going to color in the little stems. And that way I only have to cut it out once, right? And I will trim off that string like I did for the red ones. But I'm just going to leave the green ones as is, right? Now it's not as detailed as if you cut the stem because the stem like sits on top, so it adds something. But, you know, I'm just filling up a jar with them and, you know, there's no need to be silly, right? We don't want to spend too much time. So I'm just trimming off these little peppers. And then I'm taking a little bit of a darker marker. This is Copic G07. And I'm just sort of, I'm not coloring them, I'm just sort of bringing in some color from the base of the stem. And I'll do the same thing on all the little red peppers. There we go. And now I'm going to stick them in my jar. So I'm just using reverse tweezers and some art glitter glue. And then I'm going to stick them all down. Into my little jar. So I'm trying to, you know, have a random look, right? And, you know, trying to make something cute at the same time. Now remember, you could always use Jaded Blossom's clear jar dies. There's a clear jar stamp set and then there's clear jar dies. And you could easily cut a jar out with that and use those. It would be a smaller jar, right? So that would be good because you wouldn't have to cut as many chili peppers. You know, and that way you could do the same sort of thing, but, you know, not have to have such a big, like a large amount of chili peppers to fill it up. Although I kind of like the look of this mason jar in the card because it does take up a lot of room on the front, which is nice. So now I'm pulling out scrapbook adhesives, and these are little, like they're just thinner, you know, dimensional squares or foam dots or whatever you want to call them, foam squares. And I'm just going to pop up a few on top to give them a little bit of dimension. But remember, these foam squares aren't super dimensional. They're very thin. So it just gives it a little bit of dimension, but nothing crazy. There we go. And now I'm going to add, because remember vellum, if you put adhesive on vellum, you're going to see it through the vellum. So I'm going to hide the adhesive, these little foam squares behind each of the chili peppers. So that's going to add a little bit more dimension to my card, right? It'll make my vellum sit kind of higher up, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm just, removing the little release papers from behind, and now I'm going to do the exact same thing on the back vellum. And so you'll have a few layers of foam squares, and it'll give it a little bit of air and make it have a little bit more presence on your card. And like I said, this is easy to do, not too crazy. We're just adding some dimension. There you have it. So not too bad, right? Kind of quick and fun. So now I'm going to add my sentiment with some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. So wishing you a spicy birthday, and that'll be in the upper right-hand, you know, corner of the mason jar there. Isn't that fun? Now I'm pulling out Doodlebug's shape sprinkles, and these are called Heartwarming, these ones. And I'm going to take a red one, and then I'll use some green ones. So I'm using a pen blade to lift them off the acetate. And now I'm going to grab the green ones and sort of put them in the jar, kind of in a pleasing look. You know, they're shiny, and they'll add something to your background, right? I'm just trying to, you know, have an odd number, and I'm going to add one more of those. And then I'm going to pull, because I don't have enough green ones, I'm going to pull one green heart from the candy hearts. I just didn't have enough in the other package. So I'm going to grab one little green one from this package, and I'll add that just so I have an odd number in my little mason jar. You know, just for fun, just for some fun. And there you go. So fun stuff. Now I'm pulling out my art glitter glue that I have in a little bottle with a fine tip, and I'm just going to add a few little Studio Katia Google Eyes. They are 3mm. They are super tiny, super fun. I'm using the Studio Katia embellishment wand to pick them up because they are very small. Like, it'd be impossible to pick them up if you didn't have a tool of some sort. So I'm just picking those up and popping them on the glue. And then I'm going to have all these cute little peppers staring at you out of the mason jar, and it'll be lots of fun. I just think that turned out so darn cute. I'm going to add one that's kind of upside down, right? It's kind of on his head, just for fun. Of course, it's like making a mess. You just want to make sure they're straight, because you know I'm crazy like that. There we go, adding that last little Google eye. And isn't that the cutest little thing? I just think it turned out adorable. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, Be Inspired, the Jaded Blossom store, to get your hands on some of their amazing products. And thank you as always for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we will see you soon in my next one. Bye everyone.